Hello friends, I'll be starting the day one course of Python. So I'll be starting from the Python installation in your system and then proceeding with the program and knowing the data types and how the program structure look like. So it's very much important to execute it practically. Any programming language or any software courses you are learning, it's must to execute that in a proper virtual environment. And also it will be helpful in your job searching, and also if you want to start any project in Python, or if you are learning any of the software courses. So Python is basically platform independent language, so it means it can execute on any of the operating system or any hardware. So it's it can be installed on Windows, Mac, Linux. So it can be downloaded from python.org website, and after downloading you have to install it. And Windows, Mac, or in Linux also you have to add the binary in the standard path, so that you have to understand first. Because after installing it, when you are executing it from the command line or from the any of the IDE like idle or PyCharm, you have to set the environment first. So I'll be mostly teaching on command line. That is the easiest way, I think, and very simplest way to learn Python. So then next is Python interpreter. After installing that, you will be executing your program using Python interpreter. So basically Python is interpreted language. When you write the program, it interprets line by line and execute, rather than converting it to the machine language. Just in the case of C and C++, you compile the program and it converts to the machine language object file, output file. But in case of Python, it's directly execute line by line, so that's why it's called interpreted language. So one more thing I'll show you. So you have to go to, you can just search and search download Python. I have already downloaded. So you can see different version here, different operating system. So for example, I am using Mac OS, so I have downloaded for Mac OS, and you can just install using a double click. In Linux, Unix also, if you are using Ubuntu, you can also download from here and you can install it. After installing on any of the operating system, you have to remember that you have to add it in the system environment variable or default path. In Linux or Ubuntu, there is no need in the most of the time. So after downloading it, you have to just go to the command line and just type Python. So you can see that I have installed the latest 3.7.3 version. So that was released in March 27, 2019. So it's pretty much latest, so you can use this. And after downloading and installing it, you can start your Python programming. So I'll just hit this. Okay. Okay, so Python interpreter is installed on my system actually. So I can write any program in command line and I can execute. And even in the case of, I'll also teach you how to use other IDs, PyCharm and idle, apart from command line, because all those IDE and execution environment is needed in your project. So that's why I'll be teaching all the scenarios. But first you have to start, it's better to start with the command line. So always download the Python and install it, and also type the command Python. So if you have downloaded Python 3.7, it should show 3.7. Maybe in some cases, if you are having Python, if you have installed it like 2-3 months back, it can show 2.7 also. So then you have to use you can use virtual environment to switch between one Python version to another Python version. If you want to use only Python 3.7, then I'll ask you to uninstall the previous 2.7 version. That will be better, otherwise it will always cause confusion. So how I do is if I want to install, if I want to execute any program using Python 3, so I can also execute like Python 3 here, Python 3 explicitly, but by default 3.7 is installed on my system. So whether I execute Python or Python 3, it will show the same. So currently I'm not using Python 2.7, but if you want to use both version, you have to install virtually, and you have to use virtually, and with that I'll be explaining you in the later classes. So before starting, you have to know a few things, like Python is built over C language, so basically it's known as C Python. Also there is different Python, like it is built on Java Python, something like that, so it is known as J Python, but basically we are using C Python. So Python, and then it is interacting with C libraries and then to hardware. So that's why C is more faster than Python, because once we write Python program, it goes and interact with, so that there is a time lag. So it interacts with C, and then C talks to the kernel and hardware of your system, whether it's Windows or Linux. So that's why C is more faster than Python, but C is not having that rich library. So that's why we are using Python in case of data science. Also machine learning, we are dealing with huge data. So in that case, if you don't use Python libraries, it will be very difficult to use C program. It will take a lot of time for coding, and any software and project we are building, so it will cost too much, and you have to put more number of hours. I think we have to put, if we are putting 10 hours on Python project, we have to put 30 to 40 hours on C programming. So it's like 4 times more. So Python data scientists have created a lot of libraries which is useful. We can directly use and apply the algorithm, and it will fetch the data for us. Even if we are dealing with a CSV file which is like 10 lakh lines, and Python, you can just use Python libraries. Okay, so you might be also thinking that why we are using again Python. You told that C is faster. So for any operation, I am saying just like A equal to B plus C. So same thing you will write in C, it will execute faster, because in Python, if you are writing A equal to B plus C, it is again interacting with the C libraries to add two numbers, and then it is going to the hardware. So in that way, Python is slower than C. But with regard to a bigger calculation, CSV file reading, all those things, so Python library is inbuilt by data scientists, so that we are using. So in that way, Python is more convenient to use. Same operation, if we are doing similar operation in C and similar operation in Python, then Python will take more time. So hope you understood this point. So again, Python memory at the, as I told that it is like C based, so all of the Python memory management will be dynamic memory management will be dealing with this heap. So Python is interpreted language, so it goes line by line, and there is no object code created, but all the variables we are using will take some memory in the RAM. So for example, integer objects are managed differently within the heap than the strings, tuples, and dictionaries, because integers imply different storage. So as we know that heap is used for dynamic storage and a stack is used for static storage. So if we run any Python script, Python program, so it will take some memory in the RAM. All the variables are stored in the heap region, and you are already seeing that integer objects are managed differently within the heap. So there is a concept of private heap here. the Python memory manager that delegates some of the work to the object-specific allocators but ensures that latter operate within the bounds of the private heap. So let's start with some Python code execution. Now we have downloaded the Python software. We have set up the environment variable so that if we run Python interpreter, it should not say command not found. So it will be very helpful in executing your program from command line. Later I will be showing you how to execute Python from using different IDE like PyCharm and idle. So let's execute some Python program. So I have add num.py. So you can save the program name with .py, but this .py is needed only when we have given the interpreter line like this user bin Python. So this is given when we are not giving this Python explicitly. Add num.py. So sum is 5. I have also given some sleep. So if we are not giving this, I will show you what is the difference if we are not giving the first line. So let's give permission to this. If you are using Linux and Mac, then you have to provide permission to this file. So now it's executing and it's saying sum is 5 because we have provided this interpreter line. So this should be similar in Windows, Mac or Linux. So generally you will not find this path in Windows, but then also it's important to provide this line so that Python should understand where I should from where I should bring this Python interpreter. Okay, so let's find this path. Okay, so in Mac and Linux you'll find this, but in Windows you'll not find this path. There is cmd drive, there is no slash. So in that case Python will understand that okay, I have to bring this Python interpreter from the default location. So anyways, that will not give error in Windows if you are giving this line. Then I will remove this line now. And now I'll try to execute it directly. So you can see it is throwing error because it's not able to know that whether it's a Python program or shell script. So generally this .py is not having that much significance. So in that case we have to, it's always better, it's always safer side to provide this line. Okay, so I'll put this. You can also write user bin Python 3 or whatever you like, Python 2, but Python 2.7 is going to obsolete in this coming January 2020. So it's always better to use the latest version. There are some difference in Python 2, 2.7 and 3 that I will be talking about in later classes. But this is the way we are executing Python. So in Python there is no concept of coming to the data type, Python data types. So there is no concept of int, string, just unlike C and C++, there is no concept of int, string and float. If we are declaring any of these variables, Python will understand. Python is intelligent in that, in quotes. So let's start with my program. So I will just show you the structure. I'll just give a rough idea of the structure of the Python program. The Python program will first start with this interpreter line, and this then some import statements. So import statements are nothing but libraries we are importing. So already written libraries like SSH database modules, so those we don't have to write there again, it will take a lot of time. So we can import those libraries. So here we have imported sys. Okay, so to import the system module, and then again, so then again we have to provide this. So import statements, and then some function definitions will be there, second part, then main section. So there is nothing like void main. We don't have to write like this. So as we can see in this program, so this program has import, and then there is no definition, and this is the main part actually. This is the main part, and if there is any definition part, this will be, anyways I will be explaining the function definition later, but this is the way to define a function in Python. Define test print from test function, and then this is the main part. We can call this function from the main part. So and from test function. So this is the basic structure of Python program. There are also classes those are used. So classes concept is similar to the modules. So again there will be some classes here, and then some member function, and then it will work like a simple object oriented concept. Then classes, object, and then object dot function we'll call, and then it will be getting whatever we have defined in the function, it will get printed. So you have, then I can summarize it as, then we can import the module in the beginning, or classes. If we have defined the classes in somewhere else, we can also define our custom module, custom classes in some other file, and put in the standard directory. That again I will explain later, how to create custom modules and classes. And here you can import it, then we can write our own classes here. If you want to write own classes, then member function, then classes, object, then object dot function, just like Java and C++, object dot function. If we are also creating object of any module, for example I have a module called test, so import test as t. So t will be considered as alias or object. Everything in Python is considered as object. So we can use t as the object, and we can call any of the function from test. So suppose that this fun is inside test, so we can call like this. But yeah, I will not go in detail that much now in the day one. So just understand the basic structure of the program. First will be import statements will come, then your function definition will come, then main part will come. But there is no indication of main like void main or something like that. There is no indication. It will be similar, it will be simple plain scripting, and your definition should be prior to the calling. So here you are calling this. I will delete this because there is no module called test now. Okay, so it is executing. So in the first day one class, we'll just understand how to execute Python from command line. Our focus should be that, not going very much in the future. And right now it's not very much necessary to understand about classes, modules. Only understand the structure of the program and try to execute from the command line, set up the environment. If we are using Python 3, just try to use only one version. Now when I will be talking about virtual environment, then we'll see how to execute in different environment, Python 3.7, and then switching back to 3 dot something, or switching back to 2.7. So for day one, I think I am done. If I will be also going through doubt clarification session after completion of each three modules. So today is the first module, day one. So hope you understood everything. You can just go through some Python programs. So I'll always recommend that practice is the key. Practice will be the key for you, and understand different scenarios. I will be guiding you with different scenarios. So thank you. Thanks for watching.